And we are back, and we are joined by the guest we didn't know for sure we were going to get, making his return to the Tougie's Take podcast. His Twitter bio says it, and it's true. Your favorite Arizona Coyotes fan, fellow Twitch partner, fellow member of the EA Game Changers now. Again, both him and Sin, recent additions. Endo, how's it feel to be excluded?
Damn, it's not the first time they let the brother out of that program. It's not going to be the last. Yeah, I said it.
Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Deke Slayer is back.
Thank you so
Deke,
much.
how the heck are you, handsome?
I am well. Despite everything going on, I'm actually doing all right. I know we're going to talk a lot about what's going on, but, hanging in there.
There you go.
How much I can tell you.
Blink twice if you need help.
Yeah. Been rough.
I was really hoping to have you back on the show at some point, just under, better circumstances. But at the end of the day, I mean, who else? You're the authority to bring back here on this, because I want, not that you don't have the avenues to do it already, but I want to give you the chance to just get all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions out there. And we're going to go through kind of this whole saga of the Coyotes deal that was on the table, that was voted down, their history, what could be next. We're going to go through it. And pretty much at any time you want, if you have something to say about what I mention, if I get something wrong or forget to add something, you hop in and cut me off whenever you want.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to start off by mentioning what the plan was that was voted down. It was a mostly privately funded $2 billion project that was first proposed in September of 2021, including a 16,000-seat arena, eventually a practice rink, 2 different hotels, retail options, 1,600 apartments, a theater, and a sports book. They estimated that the district would generate about $13 billion of new spending on site, and an average of more than $435 million over 30 years, or an average of $435 million over 30 years. And this was viewed as an incredibly favorable deal for taxpayers, especially by arena and entertainment district standards. And ultimately, Deke, it would have been exactly what the Coyotes needed location-wise.
Exactly. It put us in the heart between Phoenix and the suburbs surrounding Phoenix. Tempe is really a great centralized location for to have an arena like that there. I mean, it's right off the freeway. Everybody can get there from Mesa, Gilbert, Chandler, everybody in the East Valley, which is predominantly where most of the fan base is going to be from. It's where everyone basically lives. Now, that's not to say the West Side isn't growing, but the biggest fan base is going to be over here on the East Side. And it was a great location for us. And, there's no longer having to drive an hour and a half to Glendale from the East Side. It was going to be huge.
In traffic.
Yeah, in traffic.
I've heard the traffic over there is pretty brutal.
At 5 p.m. on a weeknight, trying to get out to Glendale and then having to go, they've since alleviated it a little bit. They built a new freeway, but you had to go across, you had to go down go through the I-10 through Phoenix at 5 o'clock, and no one wants to do that, especially going westbound. It was a nightmare. And it's still,
I remember the
I-10
when I was on tour, and it was one thing I remember most was hot as fuck.
Yeah,
because it was summer and we had a van with no AC.
That sounds like absolute hell.
It was hell,
honestly. Yes. Yeah, that sucks.
So the opposition is one of the bigger sections here for us. Deke, true or false, the city of Phoenix was heavily backing the No campaign.
I truly believe they were. Yes. They were also in the process of suing the city of Tempe.
Damn.
So I had that marked down, that there were threatened lawsuits if the measure passed based upon primarily a violation of a 1994 agreement between them promising not to build residential developments in the 65 dB zone of Tempe, in which case, essentially, that's an idea of, hey, you're not allowed to build something here because we have the right to file noise complaints. It's too loud for this residential neighborhood. So yeah, pretty much for Phoenix, it seems like they would have had their way to put some muscle behind the no campaign in terms of having legal avenues that might have been flimsy, but they were there. But also out of potential fear and salt that in the future, Tempe could be the location over Phoenix itself for teams to potentially look at.
Correct. That's I was just about to touch on that. Yes, that's exactly really the nuts and bolts of it, is that they didn't want competition. You look at teams like the Arizona Diamondbacks, who have made known that they don't particularly care for Chase Field. In fact, they had issues they had issues a few years ago where they wanted renovations done to Chase Field, and Phoenix said, we're going to send in our own someone else to look over that stadium to see if you say that you need however many millions they said that. I think it was like, I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but it was a lot of millions and millions of dollars to renovate Chase Field. And Phoenix sent their own person in there and said, no, you don't need that. You need about $1 million worth of work, and that's about it. And the owner at the time threatened to move the team, and it was City Phoenix basically told him, good luck, have fun. You're not going anywhere, but we'll see it because we're not building you another stadium. You already have one, and this one's barely 20 years old. So, and so that would be, and again, there is the Tempe area. There are spots where if you wanted to build something, I mean, it'd be tough, but you could absolutely do it. The arena, where the location was going to be for the arena, is kind of like the last big open spot that you could build in Tempe. A lot of Tempe has been built up already, with residential, commercial. Again, ASU is Tempe, basically. So that was kind of like their last big spot to build, was on this landfill. That is when I say it's a toxic land dump, it's exactly what it is.
I was going to get into that too. I did find a Bleacher Report article from March of 2016. Diamondbacks threaten to move if Chase Field doesn't undergo repairs. Chase Field may be fewer than 20 years old, but they're considering playing elsewhere. The team is upset that Maricopa County is unable to provide what it feels are necessary $187 million stadium improvements.
Yeah.
This was 2016.
Yeah.
So
the city told them to pound sand.
Yeah. The no side, also, from what I could tell on the outside looking in, had the support of local workers' unions who had no guarantees that they would have been used on this project had it been funded.
Yeah, the union here, they had no guarantee on it, so they were against it. And then I don't mean to steal your thunder, because I bet you're going to get to that, was the airport had an issue, Sky Harbor Airport. This would have been considered to be in a flight path for landing planes coming into Sky Harbor. Again, when you fly into Phoenix, you land, literally your flight path is right over downtown Tempe. The arena plan was to actually build it down to kind of remedy the issue of the height of the arena. And then they were also taking up issue with the apartments too, I believe, was going to be their problem. And the arena group did their best to try and alleviate as much as they could. And then going forward, I assume there would have been continued litigation over it, but had it have passed,
the no side also had the voters, to say the least, especially the 60 and up crowd.
Boomers.
They voted. The youth very much did not. I believe it was 13 to 15% of those in the younger category, like 18 to 24, or even a little bit higher, were a part of this general voting.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, and for this group, for Tempe First, and from what I've noticed in my time living in Arizona, it's real easy, and maybe I guess this applies everywhere, but it's real easy, especially here in Arizona, because we're pretty much a retirement community. I mean, there's a lot of retirees here. It's real easy to scare them, and I mean easy. All you have to do is say taxes. Put that one word in there. That's all you have to say. Whoa. They will vote no. They will show up and vote no. And I don't know if you guys saw this interview. They interviewed Bram Resnick, who is he's at a news station here, interviewed a no voter. And this guy was, I don't know where they found this guy. He had an eye patch and a cowboy hat and said, I don't go to the games, so I'm voting no.
Oof.
That I don't know where they found this guy. But I'm like, well, there's your Tempe voter. No, I'm kidding. But it was, and the worst part was I remember I was sitting at I was at our gym on the night of the vote, Tuesday night. And I was on my phone. I'm looking at it, and somebody had posted the demographics for the mail-in votes because you get all that information. You know, you can sort by party, age, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So they show what the majority voter was, 65 plus, and I'm sitting there going, we are so screwed because they're all going to vote no. And I only know that because when I worked in education, whenever we had a bond or an override come up, that was the group that showed up to vote no because they thought their taxes would go up. Doesn't matter you would improve your school district. Doesn't matter you improve your land, the value of your home because you're in a good area. Nope. They just saw that as a new tax and vote no. And so and I'm not kidding, they will show up just for that and vote no. It's frustrating to say the least. And I'll stop myself there because I know we're going to get into some other stuff, so I don't want to jump too far ahead.
So the no side as well put in a lot more effort and a lot more money. Frank Saravalli reported this. There was a spending disparity, $250,000 from the Coyotes ownership group compared to $2 million spent by the no campaign from labor unions. The whole grassroots approach for the Coyotes not working out. Some of the I saw this thing. What is the word for the ad that you just stick on the front yard? Like
just a lawn sign?
Lawn sign.
Let's go with lawn sign. I wasn't sure. I could have sworn I heard a different word for it, but whatever. I saw one of those ads with the headline, "Billionaire Rapes Tempe." Is that the headline you want?
Yeah.
That was a real thing.
What?
And it worked.
Yep. They also ran with no bailouts for billionaires too, I think was the other tagline they like to use.
That was literally my next point and you kind of mentioned it too, like the basis of the opposition was we will not pay a cent because it's a billionaire behind this. Screw you, you pay for it.
Yeah. He effectively was paying for it. That's the thing. It's I mean, in terms of arena deals, I mean, you look at the city of Glendale. They're still paying for Diamond Dallas Desert Page Arena. I'm not kidding. It's Diamond. What the hell is the name?
Diamond Desert.
Now? Yeah, Desert Diamond Arena. I don't know. It's formerly Gila River Arena.
Yep.
Taxpayers are still paying for that. That thing was built. You're welcome. Was built back in 2003. They're still paying for it. They're still paying for State Farm Stadium. That was all taxpayer approved arena. It would not have been the case in the extreme that it is there that it would be with Tempe. Again, this was designed to be footed by Alex Meruelo and would have done wonders. And anyway, I'm going to let you continue because I was going to go on another tangent. I'm trying to hold myself back on.
It's okay. It's okay. So the city was slated to bear the $40 million cost of hazardous waste removal and cleanup, plus another $200 million in infrastructure costs to lay the groundwork for the project. So again, it's been mentioned. I mean, basically what you would think of as infrastructure, whether it be like the piping, the water, stuff like that. There were the kind of usual complaints of, but think of the increased traffic and stuff like that. But the main focus, and you mentioned the airport too, the main focus though is the waste removal. That area, like you said, is a dump, a literal landfill that has caught fire more than once.
Yes.
And waste from said landfill is now seeping low enough that it is threatening the water table below.
Correct.
So it is very rapidly becoming even more of a public health hazard, in which the city is going to have to fill or deal with the landfill sooner rather than later, in which the only response was, again, essentially, taxpayers are going to be on the hook for this anyway. You might as well have had it be included in an arena deal in which, hey, you're going to get something out of it beyond just, well, maybe this area could be a park, which seems to be the most common response.
Why would you build a park on a toxic dump?
Fuck them kids. That's what.
Who does that? I saw a cartoon, and Tougie, maybe you saw it too, that Tempe first put out, where they had this cartoon of they could turn this dump into a park. But no, you're going to put an arena there. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like,
oh my God.
You're not going to put a park on a toxic dump.
Yeah.
That reminds me of back at my old high school. They were looking to revitalize the field. And that field had been there. It's been discussing it for a long time. and they put like a whole new AstroTurf kind of thing in there. They found out that there was toxic waste on the grass and all that, and it was just a complete dump. And they had that shit closed off for like 5 years. It's like we've been rolling around that for like decades, and now you decide to close it off because you're gonna get a new arena coming through. Like, oh, whoop-de-doo. Like, it's funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now instead of getting something out of it, they're now gonna have to foot the bill. The Tempe taxpayers will have to pay to now have to clean that dump, because they're going to have to. Now they're gonna put it off as long as they can, because nobody's gonna want to do it because it's expensive.
Yep.
So but it's gonna be on them to clean it.
Yeah, that's the problem with the biggest voter turnout always being 65 plus boomers, because they're not going to be the ones to really deal with any of the repercussions from all these hazardous wastes and things like that. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the level of apathy, especially for young people. It's just that fucking nothing gets done for us. So like, what's the point? And it sucks, and you wish you could motivate more, but it's completely understandable. Like that level of apathy, as much as it sucks, and you would just want. Yeah.
Let me talk. I want to go back to the traffic thing for a second. In terms of if someone lived over off that part of Rio Salado, and I can understand someone voting no. If you live right over there, I can understand that. I get it. Okay. The other thing I thought was funny in terms of traffic, you don't need the Coyotes there to have traffic be a nightmare at 5 o'clock in Tempe. It's a thing anyway. Also, I thought that we as a fan base didn't exist. I thought we had no fans, so why would the traffic be a problem? So I have no idea. Weird.
It's the old people who can't drive. That's why.
Well, at least shouldn't be.
Ain't wrong.
Deke, anything else to mention about the opposition, the whole mess surrounding that, the literal mess of the landfill, before we move on to the responses to the no vote?
I'm going to give them credit for one thing. They knew the voters they needed to target. They knew exactly who to go after, who to get to show up to vote. They targeted those people, and they got them to put in their mail-in ballots. The Tempe Wins crowd, as much as I supported them, wanted to go with the old school knock on doors. And I know they tried their hardest. I think they made a mistake in not targeting a younger demographic that would have showed up. I don't know if going to ASU would have helped them out and trying to recruit those. Those kids are all registered to vote in Tempe. Maybe get them to show up. I don't know what the right move was there. But the Tempe First crowd did know who to go after and who to get to turn in their votes.
Yeah, that's wild. Where have we ever seen someone who represents the interests of old fucks being always able to organize much better, and the opposition never, ever, ever being able to mobilize the younger crowd in any meaningful way? Yeah, where have we seen that before?
Wrong.
I'll leave it there. I'm trying very hard to be,
yeah,
on topic.
You,
but anyway,
you be what you want to be and say what you want to say.
I'm in a
That's
good
what we
place,
have
though.
you here for. So,
but anyway,
the response. I'd be remiss if I did not mention the Coyotes social media admin, who has been having their fair amount of fun the last few days. Holy shit.
Oh man.
they're having a blast right now. They know what they're doing.
I remember Strives posted something. It's an entirely different person. Whoever was running it before must have left or got a different position within the organization, because it's an entirely different guy. There was a post. There was someone. Either the last guy quit or so was like an interim right now because looking for a new guy. And they're kind of like, all right, we're going to, because this is the first time I've ever heard them refer to the fan base as the pack. And I'm like, wait a second, something's not right here. Because I haven't seen it. Maybe Deke has seen it. He's like, Pack, where do you want to do this? Pack, like our thing, 20K will reveal where our city's going to be next. It's like
the first time I've ever seen them refer to us at like talk directly to us like that.
Yeah,
they do call us Pack. Like when you go to the games, they call us the Pack. It's
okay. It's
not unheard of to get us called to be called. Well, that's normal for us. But like to have them come right at us and call us that. And I sit here and I take it all in and I go, this person, whoever this is, knows what they're doing. They know it's engagement. They know they're going to get the heat. it's genius for me. I enjoy it. I'm just along for the ride. And they've just now tweeted. I
was going to go through their tweets.
Popcorn. Yeah,
I was going to go through their tweets. So you can scroll back on their timeline and look at obviously because Twitter has the view counts now, the engagement numbers before this vote, and they are in 10 to 20K range typically, especially a lot of retweets from the Tempe Wins campaign, which of course was the vote yes option. Now, in the past few days, obviously their initial response on the 16th, which I'll talk about in a second, 2.1 million views on that tweet. The next day, somewhere out in the desert, the Coyotes are looking for a new home, with Captain Kirk making binoculars as a GIF. 790,000 views. Then, yesterday, Pack, we want to hear from you. Where should the Coyotes build our new home? Mesa, Scottsdale, Chandler, Gilbert. 4.9 million views with over 6,700 responses.
Hey, too. It just hit 5 mil.
Perfect. Back in the day, by the way, they almost had an arena in Scottsdale, and the Coyotes would have had the infrastructure they needed 20 years ago to be an incredible success. It's a shame that didn't happen. And then, yesterday as well, Greg Wyshynski tweeted out, odds makers at bookies have set probability for the Coyotes' potential relocation, and the Coyotes respond with Michael Jackson eating popcorn in the Thriller music video. And then their tweet today.
The funny thing about that tweet is that was posted like 3-something p.m. and around 4:30 p.m. someone took a screenshot of a job posting for the Arizona Coyotes senior social media management or something like that.
It was Nasher's editor Strive. He's like, "Hey, looking for a new guy."
Tremendous. That tweet has 900,000 views, and then 2 hours ago, with 800,000 views, Pack, if this tweet gets 20,000 likes by the end of the day, we'll leak our new arena plans. It has 24,000 likes. Whoever it is, this whole direction is fucking working. Like, the Coyotes have so much attention on them. And why not meme yourselves and lean into it at this point when you know people are going to act and respond the way they've responded, right?
Man.
It's just good business practice if you're in a position that relies solely on engagement numbers.
If there's one thing though that I like about that, now that I'm like really look at it again, I like when these brand accounts or tied accounts like sports teams have a personality or have a little niche to them or something like that. Not like what happened with this. Yeah, as long as it's good, not with.
You say that,
not like fucking Vegas, dude. That shit.
Or Carolina.
I think we can all say that here. We can all say this here. Fuck Vegas' social media team. No offense, probably great people, but just their execution is. Oh, I'm gonna post my lineup. It's all fucking emojis. Who the fuck is this? Why are they all emojis? I don't get it. Am I out of touch? Is it me that's wrong? Like, what's going on?
Quirky asterisks. That's why.
Fucking, oh my god, I want to fucking put a bullet in my brain. Jesus Christ. Like, the one thing I like is, like, randomly during last season, the Seattle Kraken social media manager was just like, oh, I'm nervous. I'm going to post my crystals. Like, what? She's going to post my crystals. I'm going to roll my crystals for good luck. And it's like, W-win admin. It's like, it's so quirky. It's so stupid. I love it.
Now that since we knew that they do have a new social media person, I went and checked to make sure they didn't unfollow me. I'm okay. They're still there. They might have muted me, which is fine. I don't care as long as they just don't unfollow me. I'd be devastated.
I would also be making a mistake if I did not mention the Clayton Keller tweet of the disappointed face. Yeah. But I would also be remiss if I did not mention Clayton Keller's dad.
Yeah.
Who initially tweeted claiming that his son and others would refuse to play, which LOL, and then this morning, Clayton Keller's father on his recent tweet, quote, I am writing to inform anyone who read those messages that my Twitter account was hacked and the messages were sent out by the hacker.
Dude, just lean into it. It was you. Just lean into it. And the thing is, it's like, if you're frustrated and your father, I completely understand. That's completely understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, just lean into it. Like, you know what? Yeah, it was me. I was mad. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want to see.
Why do that?
You
when
could have saved
bang,
that.
bang at the glass and yell at your kid as in a junior A match.
Yeah.
Well, that
Clayton
televised
Keller
last
was
game, I was like-
brothers.
Yeah.
Who knew Clayton Keller's was brothers with Mitch Marner? Clayton Keller's dad, Paul Marner.
Oh, it's
Oh God!
Oh,
So I was
man.
like, all right. I took it for his words. Took it at his word. I was like, okay, he's frustrated. I understand that. I am too.
my son's not playing.
But don't do the hacker thing. Come on, man.
I know.
2023.
Don't talk
No
to
one
me or my
believes you.
son ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fucking Adam Banks' dad. My son would rather not play than play for the Ducks.
Just the idea that somebody the night of this vote coming down decided, you know what, I'm gonna hack Clayton Keller's dad's account.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hack your dad.
God.
Your dad doesn't have his 2-step authentication on. I'm in, bitch.
Oh my God. So, team president and CEO Xavier Gutierrez wrote in a letter to fans, quote, well, actually, I'll read that in a second, because the Coyotes also told season ticket holders that they will still play at Mullet Arena next season after the public vote went against them. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then Xavier Gutierrez wrote this, quote, while we are disappointed Tempe voters did not approve the proposed entertainment district, we want to thank our loyal fans who supported the Coyotes over the years. Your loyalty is what makes our pack strong. And again, reiterating that they plan on playing at Mullet Arena the following season and that they remain committed to Arizona and have already started re-engaging with local officials to sites and sites to solidify a permanent new home in the Valley. There was the follow-up response from Tempe's mayor, Corey Woods, again stating the disappointment, calling it the best sports deal in Arizona's history. Gutierrez again released another statement thanking everyone for the support, reiterating that they want to work on this. And in the NHL statement, the NHL is terribly disappointed by the result of the public referendum regarding the arena deal. Gary Bettman said in the statement, we're going to review with the Coyotes what the options are moving forward. Before we talk about those options, any thoughts?
Mine are going to be mostly once we get into talking about the whole what's next portion. So, but right now, to kind of play off of what they said, this organization and the NHL are going to play out every single option before. I mean, relocation is as far away as they can make it, because Phoenix is a gigantic market. Yeah. There's 1.6 million people alone in the city of Phoenix. Surrounding area, it's even higher. And to anyone who, and I see a lot of this on Twitter, and mostly it's from people who've never been here, hockey is a pretty big deal here. Hockey works in Arizona. And I've said this countless times. I play here. I can't get ice time. Like, it's almost impossible to get ice time to practice. Everything is full. We actually need more rinks here. We're dying for them. And thank goodness they built Mullet Arena and built the Mountain America Iceplex right next to it to give us another rink, because you can't get anything here. It's, I mean, I'm playing my beer league games at, between 7 and sometimes 10:15 at night. Like, man, that's the only time we can get out there. So, anyone who says that hockey doesn't work here has never been here or is
fucking
just
Canadian and need to shut up.
That I'm Sin, you said
Fine.
it. I'm trying.
Fuck you, Sin. Jeez.
I'm just saying the most people who troll about Arizona are fucking Canadians.
It is. It's true.
Excuse me,
And
Quebecois, mostly Quebecois, and they're all like,
narrow it down
they
even
come back
further.
to Quebec City. The money here is not good, and you can't gamble because we are stupid. And sorry, that's
No, there's a lot of
Quebecois.
fucking
You can
Toronto
break
fans
that down
going
further,
up.
and it's the engagements I get from trolling or from it's Sin's right. It's Canadians. It is mostly Toronto Maple Leafs fans.
Yep.
And it's Habs fans, Habs or Quebec, people from Quebec.
Yeah.
That's where I get all of it. And I can go to any profile where someone's giving me, is trolling me, and they'll have hashtag Leafs Forever in their bio. 99% of the time. It is the weirdest thing. I'm like, this doesn't affect you. And let's talk about the Quebec thing. You realize that if the Coyotes move to Quebec, you have to realign you have to realign divisions again. So who's going back to the Western Conference? Detroit? They're going to raise hell. They don't want to. Neither does Columbus. They're not going to do it. If you're going to move, and I may be wrong on this, but if you were to move a team to Quebec, it would be another Canadian team. It would be Ottawa. Would it not?
Or it would be an expansion, which I think is the smartest thing. Because the NHL is not going to turn down those hundreds of millions they get from someone buying expansion, especially
the expansion cost, especially up there, is what, $500 million or some insane. It's a really high number.
That was one of the points we were going to get into when talking about the other options. Relocation, obviously. Deke, to your point, I completely agree. Like, the tap dancing over the potential grave of the Coyotes is completely misguided. Arizona, or Phoenix is the 5th most populous area in the U.S. Like, that is a major, major market loss if it doesn't work out. And you notice all the other leagues are there, and that's for a good reason. You have the NFL, the baseball presence, everyone else is there, the NBA with the Suns. And I do agree that certain areas are less likely to get a relocated team because the NHL would want the expansion fee that the Seattle Kraken just paid, or that the Vegas Golden Knights just paid, $700 million plus.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes being like, Kansas City, let's go, you know what the NHL would prefer is for Patrick Mahomes to be a part of an ownership group that does pay the $700 million to bring a team to Kansas City. With Quebec, the NHL would greatly prefer, like you mentioned, division realignment's a factor here as well. The NHL would greatly prefer Quebec to pay over $1 billion Canadian, let's be honest, to bring a team in. Houston, it's the same thing. They would want that expansion money as opposed to relocation. That said, some of the other quotes here, really quickly. Obviously, there's been a big back and forth ever since. You have had the talk of, well, have they played their final game? You have Craig Morgan especially saying, hey, let's slow down the point. And obviously, you have praised Craig Morgan, as you rightfully should. I mean, when you're talking about the Coyotes, he is the voice of authority, essentially, for what's going on within that organization for someone who is local. We simply don't know. But the big two seem to be this. And let me know if I'm wrong. Back to Phoenix, on your hands and knees, groveling at the feet of the new owner of the Phoenix Suns, to that being Matt Ishbia, you got it. To say, look, we played here before, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. We played here before. You just spent millions of dollars renovating this place. Can we please work something out? Hey, maybe even you want to buy the team. We'll give it to you at a discounted rate, please God. Or you stay at Mullet Arena until you figure out a different option. Or apparently Salt Lake City, with the owner of the Utah Jazz currently expressing his interest at bringing the team, Ryan Smith, currently showing his interest at bringing the team to Utah, Salt Lake City, Vivint Arena, home of the Jazz, which looks like it would be a bit of a weird arena for hockey, perhaps, but those appear to be the big three options on the table right now.
Well, if I can, let me talk about Phoenix. So,
or is yours?
The idea of going back to Footprint Arena, formerly Talking Stick Arena, formerly American Airlines, US Air Arena, formerly America West Arena. Again, we all know the Coyotes used to play there in the 90s. Now, the issue at hand here is, one, the ice box and everything that meant to put a hockey team in that arena, that's all gone, so they'd have to bring all that back. The other issue is the sight lines. That still exists. They did renovate it, but they didn't renovate that part of the arena. So that sightline issue is still a thing. So, and then the other issue I run into
when Deke says that, just to interject for a second, think of the Islanders at Barclays and how you saw pictures of the seats and you literally could not see like a third of the ice from certain seats. Picture that, basically. Continue.
Yeah, when you come into the zone, you're looking at the jumbo. If you're on that side, you have to look at the jumbotron because you can't see it. So the other issue I think we run into is in terms of revenue sharing. Now, you have two owners in one building. All right. And then I don't see how that works because that's why they had to leave in the first place. They were never meant to stay at America West. Now, they were there for what, 7 years?
From 96 to 2003.
Yeah. And so that was never meant to be a full-time thing. That was just never going to work. So what then I wonder and you mentioned this, does Matt Ishbia buy the team? Now, does he want to buy the team? Is that even on the table? I assume Alex Mariuello has no interest right now in selling the team. He's got a sports book with him. He's got all this stuff set up. I mean, sportsbook's a big deal here now.
Dare
he's got part of it.
We say, like, a lot of people have viewed that as, hey, the Coyotes was served as his gateway to be able to have that sports book, essentially. Like,
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, like that. There was a big story on that.
Yeah. And so, do you sell the team to Ishbia? Does he want them? And then, does he want to put the money into renovations, into Footprint Center, to accommodate hockey? And again, Footprint Center is not big. I mean, it was designed for basketball and only basketball. And concerts. You have to take, I believe, 15 rows out to put a rink in. And then you've got to put all the icebox back in and all that stuff. So, I mean, and then you have to fix your sight lines. So is it an option? Yeah, it would cost a lot of money. And does he want to do it? I mean, there's issues there, but is it feasible? You're willing to pay for it.
That's always what it comes down to, right? So again, you have that option, as unlikely as it seems. You have stay at Mullet Arena and look at other cities outside of Tempe that might be a similar fit. Or Salt Lake City, according to most, seems to be the front runner, even as a short-term fix. I mean, just because they were to move to Salt Lake City, that could be used theoretically as a trial run to see if it works there, and then you could have further expansion. I mean, we've seen that before in other spots. You had, who was it? It was the Hornets that went and played in Oklahoma City, and then people are like, oh shit, basketball would work here. And unfortunately for Seattle fans, the Oklahoma City Thunder became a thing through that avenue. Just because the Coyotes were to potentially go play in Salt Lake City for a couple of years doesn't mean they wouldn't then go back to Arizona, and then Salt Lake says, hey, we want our own team, which would be the best case scenario, I'd say, for all involved, especially the NHL. Bottom line is, man, it really does feel like it comes down to the history of ownership with this team, though, does it not?
No.
I looked up the history of this, and was the big response. 1996. Winnipeg Jets owner Steve Gluckstern sells the team to Howard Milstein and Richard Burke, who moved the team to Phoenix. By 2000, ownership essentially transferred to Steve Ellman and Wayne Gretzky. By 2006, Jerry Moyes was leading the team until 2010, where the NHL took over. Then in 2014, you had George Gosby take over, with Andrew Barroway joining the next year as co-owner. Gosby sold in 2017, Barroway in 2019 to their current owner. Jesus.
Yeah.
You know,
it's been a nightmare.
And that's the biggest thing. And it's so similar to Atlanta in a lot of ways, which, fun fact, I just saw today. This is the 12th year anniversary. Like, on this day 12 years ago was the news that the Thrashers were moving to Winnipeg. Crazy that it's been that long already. But that's just been the story of the Coyotes, similar to the Thrashers. The Thrashers just never had the ownership, the steady ownership, or at least the owners that wanted to actually own the damn team. That's why you always hear Atlanta, the idea of the Thrashers coming back is because they very well could. Whereas in a similar situation, you're hearing the talks now of like, look, if the Coyotes go, that doesn't mean it's the end and you'll never see a hockey team in Phoenix again, or at least in the state of Arizona. It's just one of those things where you look at the history of ownership for this team and it's like, it's filled with what ifs. What if they had stable owners? What if they got that arena in Scottsdale in 2003 instead of Glendale? What if this passed? Was this finally the thing that they needed with the steady ownership? And it sucks because when it's good, it's good. And I've stood by you with this, Deke, the whole way, fighting in the trenches with you against the Twitter trolls. There was a lot of initial success in Arizona. They made the playoffs 5 of their first 6 years. And then obviously the big thing is the Western Conference final run in 2012, where I always say, look at that arena in those playoff games. That place was full. And again, that's with that arena being in a terrible spot and difficult to get to. If you get an arena in a better spot and the team isn't a dumpster fire every year on the ice, if you build it, they will come. And it sucks now because there's just so much uncertainty again, and it's a fan base that deserves so much better.
To reinforce that point and reiterate whatever, thinking back to those early years of success, I believe it was the early 2000s when I remember, I think at the time they were carrying over, this is when I think the NHL still did white home jerseys. They were carrying over like the old whiteout of Winnipeg, and in the playoffs, Sharks were playing Arizona. Everyone in the stands, complete white. The kid played the national anthem on the guitar in a complete white suit, a full white guitar. Like, it was like, it was a big fucking thing, man. Like, we know it works there. It's a huge market, and a bunch of people just don't understand that. And frankly, I don't know why everyone's trying to gatekeep hockey. Why do you not want hockey to get, you bitch and moan about the salary cap going up, yet here you are trying to gatekeep hockey from these incredibly huge potential markets to tap.
Old boys club.
That's all I get. By the way, just to go take you back in time a little bit, Tougie, you mentioned, and I just want to flesh it out a little bit, the whole thing with Scottsdale and back in the early 2000s. So what that was there was some land up there. It was another dead mall similar to, we're going to talk about another one here, and I'm sure it was called Los Arcos, and Los Arcos Mall opened in the late 60s and closed in 1999. So the land was sitting there, the building was sitting there. Scottsdale said, well, what do you want to do with it? So Coyotes approached it, said, we'd like to do an arena. City of Scottsdale approved everything. And they got so far, they had a groundbreaking for this, that they were going to build this arena in Scottsdale. And then they were sued by a group saying that you have to take this to a vote. Like, you can't just approve this. You have to have the voters have to get a say on this. Well, the judge agreed, said, okay, you're going to put this to a vote. And the owner at the time was Steve Ellman, who you mentioned. Right. And Steve Ellman, for his background from him, he builds malls. That's what he does. And about a few weeks before this vote was supposed to happen at Los Arcos, Steve decided to pull the whole plug on this because he wanted to build this giant thing called Westgate out in Glendale. This was going to be his baby. And the Coyotes were going to be kind of that little crown jewel there. There was going to be a professional sports team there. And for those of you who are not familiar geographically, it is literally across the street from State Farm Stadium, home of the Cardinals. But they built this gigantic mall out there, and the fact that most of your season ticket holders were in Scottsdale and on the east side, well, screw them. I'm building this baby out in Glendale, 45 minutes west and far out of Phoenix. And so that's what he went with. Now, if you build, and you mentioned this, if you build on Los Arcos, we are not having this conversation right now. They have the arena. It's done.
Dean, with that, we've had you for 40 minutes or so. Final thoughts. Anything left unsaid that you want to mention? The floor is yours, my friend, because obviously, again, like I said, I hate to be like, hey, come back on the show because something shitty happened. I was hoping like, hey, come on the show to talk about how fucking awesome this news is. But I
think the last time you brought me on was when something shitty happened.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
That's why I feel bad.
I was like, oh, that's what this is. No, real quick, I just want to follow up. It's there are a lot of sites here that they're going to look at. I believe there are, from what I've heard, 5 to 6 sites they're looking at. The one they're looking at, which I alluded to, is Fiesta Mall. It's in Mesa. It's actually even a better location. It is, again, it's a shut down, abandoned mall. You can actually find videos on YouTube of people exploring it. And how much it's basically fallen apart since it shut down, I believe, in 2018.
Also featured in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game.
No, right? No, it's fine. The mall, by the way, the mall was a dump when it was open, just so no one misses it. So that is the big possibility. I believe there is a chance they could try and work with the Salt River Reservation. Again, there's a lot of open land there. And the thing is, that's right next to Tempe. So Tempe would get, assuming this happened, they would get all the traffic and none of the revenue. Because
I kind of hope that happens just for the memes.
Across the freeway.
Yeah. All those fucking boomers to be angry.
So we'll see what happens there. Again, that's going to be an issue with gambling and gaming licensing and all that stuff. And I know that, obviously you've got a guy who owns casinos and then going to the reservation where they would build the arena most likely next to one of the casinos they have out there, be it I guess Talking Stick would probably be the closest one, but Scottsdale, but I know there's another one near Salt River. So again, anything's really possible. And then I know they're looking at a couple of others. But my point is that the hockey is a market here. And it kills me when I have to read everybody say that no one cares about hockey here, because there's nothing further from the truth. And I wish that every one of those people who tell me hockey doesn't work in Arizona, nobody cares, please come down here, because I'd be happy to show you. I'd be happy to show you how much there's a passion for hockey in this state. And that's all I can say. I would love to have everybody. I wish I could do it. And I have offered, I offered a Canadian reporter. I don't know if I'm going to say, I'm not going to say his name. I offered him, I said, come down here. I said, I'll buy the tickets. I'll buy the beer. Come down here. I will show you that hockey works here. And I believe he used the opportunity to dunk on me. So, it is what it is. So.
I would use his name. Fuck that guy.
I'm gonna be. But good I'm
also
for
petty as shit. So
I've been good the whole time. No, I know it's okay. Trust me. You have no idea how badly I want to be, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna be professional today. So, which I know is not what you guys want, but I'm gonna.
No, it's fine. I'm not gonna pressure it all. They might, but
no,
it's all good.
I won't.
It's all good.
You can catch the man on a near nightly basis every weekday. Twitch.tv/Deke Slayer. Deke, anything else to promote? Or is it just
no, that's it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Guys, it means the world to me to be here and be able to talk to you. Again, thank you for squeezing me in. I know it was a really tight schedule, especially on my end too. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
I want to promise you this, but I can't. I want to say the next time we have you back, it'll be in a more positive light. I hope it is. I really, really hope it is. I want celebrating, tap dancing Deke Slayer.
I will have the confetti cannons. Again, I will be incredibly drunk, and it's gonna be great. So, I mean, that's what we're gonna hope for. That's what we're gonna believe in. Again, I'm not entertaining any relocation thought because it hasn't happened yet. I mean, I am committed. I believe this is the best ownership we've had ever. At least Alex cares. At least he puts on the face that he does, and I truly believe he wants to make this team work here. And again. Anybody's got an issue, thinks hockey doesn't work here, come on down. I'll show you otherwise.
Our favorite Coyotes fan, your favorite and ours, our friend Deke Slayer. Deke, thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.